After school, Hanabi reminisces about the good times with Narami, her childhood friend who she saw as a brother and grew up liking but became her homeroom teacher. She gets hit with a massive embarrassment debuff when he spots her, forcing them both to switch from childhood besties to formal student-teacher mode. Suddenly, Narami's co-worker Akin spawns in, and he completely flusters while she returns some loot he left behind. Jealousy meter peaking, Hanabi dips, only to bump into Mugi, her boyfriend who is secretly simping for that same teacher, Akin. See, Hanabi and Mugi are in a Scum relationship where they use each other as placeholders for the teachers they actually want but can't have. Back in the day, Hanabi was hyped that Narumi was joining her school as a staff member, and she nearly lost it when he coincidentally became her homeroom teacher. But that hype was nerfed instantly when she realized he was actually into Akin. That night he raids her fridge and compliments her mom's cooking, but Hanabi is tilted because she knows his visit is purely platonic. Walking him home, she notices he's stopped talking about finding a great wife, making her wonder if he's already locked in his final choice. In a junior high flashback, Hanabi's opponents were toxic, flaming her for training with a pro like Narumi, calling her out for unfair advantages. Still, he carried her spirits with a homemade lunch, claiming they'd always be there for each other whenever their social batteries hit zero. Back in the present, Hanabi starts leaking tears as she realizes that whole, always there promise was a total lie. In June, she had to listen to everyone praising Akin's god-tier beauty, taking emotional damage until she literally collided with her. As Akin dropped her loot, Hanabi studied her features with rising jealousy, just before Mugi appeared to help out and remind the teacher that he's just a student. Later, while spectating Akin and Narumi, Mugi drops the law that Akin was his tutor, leaving Hanabi wondering what makes this teacher so op. As time went on, the two loners spent more time together until Hanabi finally hugged Mugi while hanging out at his base. Both stuck with unrequited love, Mugi suggests she just pretend he's Narumi, and she agrees, knowing she's just his substitute for Akin. After their first kiss, Hanabi gets a rush and wants more, so they continue making out until a text from Narumi kills the mood, making Mugi suggest they log off for now. The next month, Hanabi rejects a random student because she's too busy seeing Narumi's ghost through Mugi's character model. She raids his place again, and after some spice they agree to a pact. They'll act like a couple to survive the loneliness, but they won't actually fall for each other. But here's the catch: if either one actually lands their true love, this contract gets deleted immediately. With that settled, Hanabi decides to fully embrace these toxic feelings. The next day, Mugi clarifies they aren't friends with benefits since they haven't done the deed yet, but Hanabi is just hoping they can fulfill this Scum's wish together. After school, her friend Sani tries to escort her home, but Hanabi already has a party invite from Mugi. As they leave, Mugi's friends are busy envying his high-tier relationship stats. On the walk home, Mugi goes for a kiss, but Noriko, his childhood crush, interrupts like a wild encounter. The girls recognize each other from a past track meet, and Noriko starts questioning Mugi's feelings, forcing the couple to fake appreciate each other to keep the cover. Hanabi then drops a warning, telling her not to hold onto gear that doesn't belong in her inventory. The next day, Mugi thinks she was too harsh, so she suggests he just reject Noriko straight up while flexing her possessiveness with a kiss. Meanwhile, Noriko is struggling with her commute, hating the fact that Mugi is playing a different role than the one she imagined. The next day at lunch, Mugi buffs Noriko with her favorite bread, earning a tight hug in return. But Hanabi's jealousy kicks in, so she snatches the loot away. Hanabi offers him a bite instead, basically threatening Noriko into joining their awkward lunch date. Noriko retreats, calling Hanabi a user under her breath, which only makes Hanabi more curious about her own toxic traits. Later, Hanabi is stuck on school chores with Narumi and starts panicking when she realizes they're solo, planning a move to make him see her as more than a kid. But the mood is obliterated when they hear Akin playing the piano in the next room. Narumi starts simping for Akin's talent, so Hanabi vents her frustration at karaoke with Mugi, who tries to convince her there are other fish in the sea. Hanabi cries while defending her crush, and Mugi actually understands her pain. Despite the heartache, he cherishes his memories with Akin, and they start making out, both pretending the other is someone else. Guilt starts hitting Mugi hard, mostly because he realized he actually prefers Akin's toxic side instead. The next day, Sani is worried that Noriko was right, and that Hanabi is just griefing Mugi for her own gain. Hanabi spawns into school breathless because she woke up late and had to speedrun her commute. Later, some girls ask Hanabi for dating tips, and Mugi encourages it since she's usually a solo player with zero female friends. She expects a kiss, but he just tussles her hair, leaving her confused about whether this boyfriend roleplay is actually becoming real. After school, the girls spill the tea about how Ayumi's boyfriend cheated on her, but she refused to hit the quit button on the relationship. A senior saw the whole drama and was super kind to her, so now she's basically multi-boxing and dating both guys at once. Ayumi claims she can't choose, which confuses Hanabi since she knows she and Mugi would always choose their teachers if they had the chance. Hearing Ayumi's fear of a wrong decision, Hanabi can't help but look down on their level 1 immaturity. The next day she asks Sani why she fell for her crush, and Sani clarifies she's not just looking for a need filler, prompting a hug from Hanabi who feels the same. Hanabi sends a sleepover invite, and that night Sani is flustered, assuming they'll be sharing a bed because she's secretly in love with Hanabi. The next day she arrives at Hanabi's base, hyped that she can finally get closer since they're both girls and there's no danger. But things escalate and she kisses Hanabi, instantly regretting her impulsive move. Sani flashes back to when Hanabi saved her from a creep on a train who was inappropriately touching her. Even though Sani tried to keep her cool, Hanabi assured her that being scared was okay, and they held hands until they reached their destination. Ever since Sani labeled Hanabi as her first love, they've bonded over pajamas and toys, with Sani realizing she's never wanted men because she's exclusively attracted to women. That night, Hanabi shares Ayumi's drama about not picking a guy, claiming that mindset is a one-way ticket to a solo ending. Going to bed, Sani is nervous being so close, so Hanabi asks for more lore on her secret crush. Unable to hold back, Sani kisses her and asks why she's faking it with Mugi, revealing she's been spectating them this whole time. So Hanabi confesses she's only with him because of her unrequited love, making Sani assert that she can provide the same comfort buff. The next morning, Hanabi's mom notices her acting weird, and while walking to the store, Hanabi realizes the heavy weight of being someone's target. Noriko passes by and demands she yeet Mugi her way, but Hanabi is so lost in her own thoughts she doesn't even register the NPC. Later, she realizes she's just as bad as Ayumi, using people to fill the void. Flashback to 4 years ago, where Mugi's classmate Mei, a total school idol, took an interest in him. When they made love, he saw her loneliness, but her body felt unreal, which eventually scared him off. Mugi wakes up to a morning glory situation, only to get jump-scared by Hanabi sitting in his room. She lies down beside him, and he tries to hug her to hide his condition, but she notices, and he tells her to just touch it. He remembers when Mei left because he was into Akin, and he stops Hanabi because he knows he won't be able to resist going all the way. She gives the green light anyway, so he gives her a tutorial on how to handle him. Hanabi thinks his reactions are cute, but she's internally confused about why she wouldn't let Sani do the same. Afterwards, she admits she feels comfortable at his base, eventually crying and deciding to try and actually love him. That night, they're dining out and Mugi apologizes for the mess, but Akin spawns in with a young guy who gives her a quick kiss. As they leave, Akin asks for the secret buff so Narumi doesn't find out, which absolutely frustrates Hanabi. The next morning, Hanabi watches Akin faking her pure persona for Narumi, while Mugi IDs the guy from last night as one of her old students. But Narumi is way too naive to see the malice, which irritates Hanabi as her hatred for Akin starts to level up. So she asks Akin if that guy is her boyfriend, but Akin denies it, leaving Hanabi confused as to why everything is a secret. Hanabi wonders if her cover is blown, but notices Akin is still wearing the same skins from the night before, meaning she never went home. See, Akin has always been addicted to the attention from being desired. She recalls a friend who liked a guy courting her. She didn't even like the dude, but she accepted his feelings just to spite her friend. Watching her friend cry gave her zero guilt. She just never wanted to be the one getting exploited like an NPC. After a session with Teruyoshi, Akin realizes she only loves herself, and when he tries for a kiss, she suddenly wants to hit the cancel button. The next day, while chilling with Narumi, she spots Hanabi spectating from the backline and notices how much she simps for him. Narumi invites her for a chat after school, and she realizes he's about to confess, so she pings the music room as their location so Hanabi can walk in on them. She was never actually into Narumi, but seeing Hanabi's love for him made her want to get closer just to enjoy her hurt animation. So Akin invites her to the music room too, hyped to make her life miserable again. Narumi waits in the music room, recalling how Akin looks just like his late mother, which made him fall in love at first sight. He thought finding a woman like her was a literal fate tier encounter. When Akin shows up, he finally drops the big confession, and she loves seeing Hanabi's painful reaction when she spawns in at the door. Afterwards, Hanabi breaks down in the language room, but her eyes stay dry because she feels like she has no right to cry. She hates their relationship and regrets not speedrunning her own confession, so she heads to Mugi's base to leak the news. But then she realizes it's wrong to grief him for her own comfort, so she just heads home. Outside, Sani is spectating, admitting she followed Hanabi because it was weird that she wasn't running to Mugi. Feeling guilty, Hanabi apologizes for the lack of awareness with a hug, and Sani goes in for a kiss despite knowing the potential friendship ender. At Hanabi's place, Hanabi lets her initiate romance mode to keep her around, so Sani tries to heal all the pain she caused. Hanabi tries to visualize Narumi while kissing her, but the connection keeps failing, though she does enjoy Sani's touch. They continue making out, and Hanabi basically uses Sani as a healing item to get through the pain. Falling asleep, she realizes she's playing exactly like Akin, exploiting feelings, and finally sees that Akin is griefing her on purpose. So Hanabi resolves to change her strategy by any means necessary. The next day, she confronts Akin in the music room and reveals she knows about the secret, true love between her and Mugi. Akin mentions Mugi is using someone else to cope, which tilts Hanabi, but she just laughs it off, claiming she's the one both guys actually love. Hanabi starts questioning why she's getting a dopamine hit from the attention of NPCs she doesn't even vibe with. But Akin is out here claiming that being desired by everyone is the ultimate power trip. When Hanabi was younger, she promised her mother she'd never let her see her cry. Even when her father left, she didn't shed a tear, but Narumi became the light of her world, the only person she could truly open up to, which is why she's so devastated that he's leaving her behind. The next morning, Hanabi and Sani catch a glimpse of Akin and Narumi greeting each other with a cheerful good morning. Meanwhile, Mugi knows exactly what Akin is plotting, but he refuses to leak the intel to Hanabi because she'd probably just hate him for it. He recalls how Akin's toxic habits once made him cry all night, and seeing her in the same clothes the next day, he realizes she literally cannot live without a man. Still, her subtle flirting makes him fall even harder for her. Mugi eventually meets up with Mei to discuss his troubles, and the two head to a motel to make love. Afterward, she dips out and goes home without staying the night. The next day, Hanabi and Mugi are chilling on the school rooftop. Hanabi notices how close they are, but ever since they stopped spending every waking second together, they don't really share anything deep. Still, she's fine with it since Sani is her new substitute, at least until they end up kissing each other. They both confess to sleeping with someone else, and Hanabi cries because she can't resist the pleasure even though it brings so much pain. After school, Akin is slumping in the music room when Narumi spawns in, making her desire total freedom. Hanabi and Mugi continue their make-out session at his place, but Hanabi is getting embarrassed since she hasn't visited his base in a while. Her stare actually turns Mugi on, which leads to her suggesting they go all the way and engage in copulation. Meanwhile, Akin realizes Narumi is camping her location just to hear an answer to his confession, so she invites him to hang out tonight, totally fed up with her own habits. That night, Akin gets tipsy to deal with how boring he is. And while Narumi's refusal to drink makes her want to leave, her tipsiness causes her to stumble straight into his arms. When he accidentally calls her Hanabi, Akin's excitement sparks and she goes in for the kiss. While Hanabi and Mugi are making out, she tells him to do whatever he wants just to spite their own rules, and he goes full send. Meanwhile, Narumi and Akin end up at a motel where he asks for permission to touch her. She starts feeling jealous of his bond with Hanabi, so she easily manipulates him into kissing her. But just before Mugi can finish the job, Hanabi stops him because of the physical pain. She's frustrated as to why they can't actually make love. Mugi claims it's because she doesn't truly love him, and as she gets dressed to leave, he asks if she's even sure about dating him for real. Hanabi confirms she's still got her V-card and ends up alone in her room, longing for someone to sleep with. The next morning at school, Hanabi feels completely nerfed when she encounters Akin in the hallway, who whispers that she made love with Narumi last night. Realizing Akin is stealing everything she loves just for the sake of it, Hanabi decides to take everything back to beat her, which is a dark turn because she knows it'll leave her feeling empty inside. Still, she cries in frustration at her own selfishness. The next day, Hanabi and Mugi agree to an official date and share a kiss. After school, she tells Sani about the relationship because she doesn't want to use her friend as a substitute anymore. Things get heated when San goes in for the kiss, but Hanabi isn't having it. She shuts it down and bails, completely overwhelmed. As she runs, Hanabi is terrified of Sani's gaze, but Sani refuses to let her go. The next day, Hanabi has a massive headache and hits the library with a classmate. Sani joins them, acting like a normal NPC until she starts subtly touching Hanabi under the table. Hanabi allows it, accepting it as the consequence for using her earlier. Later, Hanabi wakes up with a fever in the clinic, only to find Sani kissing her again. Sani wonders if she only dated Mugi to catch Narumi's attention, and promising to always accept Hanabi, she suggests hiding her true feelings so she can be the only one who truly knows her. Hanabi feels like Akin would say the exact same thing, but she senses a deep sadness in Sani's words, making her wonder if everyone is just lonely. The next morning, Hanabi runs into Takuya. This is the same guy Akin was with at the diner while buying groceries. She's disgusted by his touch, but since he's one of Akin's possessions, she treats him kindly to spite her. While waiting for Takuya after school, Hanabi recalls how denying a relationship led him to suggest they hang out. They hit up karaoke, and when he hints at a kiss, she asks about Akin. He claims he's just one of her many men, which doesn't bother Hanabi at all. To get back at Akin, Hanabi wonders if Takuya would love her even with her V-card, and lets him kiss her. She feels empty, but hides it when Takuya suggests going to a motel, claiming they can handle the feelings after they make love. But after all those times she replaced Mugi with Narumi, Hanabi finally realizes her real desire is for Mugi, so she stops Takuya from going further. Thinking of Akin's reaction, Hanabi tugs him back and confesses her fear, which makes him agree to take things slow. Back home, Hanabi reflects on how she and Akin have such different ideas of self-worth, and she starts tearing up when she sees Narumi. In her sleep, she recalls Narumi promising they'd never fall apart because there would be no romance, waking up in tears from the memory. At school, Sani tells Mugi about Hanabi's popularity with other boys, making him worry that she's cheating on him. When Hanabi declines a hangout invite, Mugi's suspicion hits peak levels. At home, Noriko arrives to find Hanabi uninterested in him, stressing about why Mugi won't choose her. So Mugi invites Noriko on a date, and she accepts instantly because she truly loves him. That night, Takuya tries to see Hanabi, but she rejects him, just waiting for summer vacation to start. Junior high was the last time Noriko went on a date, but this time, going with Mugi would mean everything to her. She could only think about him, so the whole date felt like they were just pretending. Noriko wakes up feeling guilty and preps an elegant breakfast, but her messy dad's arrival ruins the vibe, so she pushes him out. She preps her best look, intending to actually bond with Mugi for real instead of being a replacement. Hanabi also goes on a date with Takuya, who snatches her phone to manipulate her into getting close to him. She walks out annoyed when he proposes a motel session while teasing her about what he wants to do. Hanabi thought they'd take it slow, but he suddenly ditches her for a girl who's actually down to make love. Noriko is enjoying a movie with Mugi, but seeing herself alone in his eyes makes it hard to focus. She wonders if this whole unrequited love quest is just a one-way ticket to Sadness City, eventually breaking down because there's no true ending in sight. She's relieved Mugi enjoyed the film, but ponders his reaction to the hand-holding as he suggests they go grab some food. That night, Hanabi recalls unsuccessfully begging Takuya to stay, realizing he only desired her body, not her heart. She longs to be desired to feel worthy, but she cries over her own cruelty, wanting to meet Mugi, who doesn't answer because he's with Noriko. After dinner, Noriko forces a smile and thanks Mugi for the date, but he pulls her back knowing she didn't even look at him, and when she confesses her love, he finally kisses her. At home, Hanabi is completely solo with nobody to meet. Meanwhile, Noriko is in Mugi's room, admitting the date felt like it was lacking something despite the fun. She recalls wanting to marry Mugi since they were kids, and his constant rejection always made her cry. He once promised they wouldn't break up just to stop her tears, making her realize she's always had the princess treatment. Even though her mind tells her to stop, she proceeds to make out with Mugi, who finds her too cute to resist. He starts to remove her clothes, but he stops himself, refusing to tarnish her. Noriko cries, saying she only wants to be touched by him, realizing she can't let go because he's her most cherished person. With that realization, she decides she doesn't want the fake relationship anymore. The next day, Hanabi and Mugi have an unplanned park encounter, assuming they both finally need to talk. She proposes they both confess to their teachers before summer ends, and Mugi agrees to the plan. They plan to truly start dating after the rejection, and Hanabi feels relieved to finally be honest about it. Mugi adds that they have nothing to lose anyway, making her laugh at how they're both such cowards. During summer break, Hanabi is stressing over homework while Mugi is speedrunning his to focus on entrance exams. Mugi plans to confess to Akin right after, prompting Hanabi to do the same with Narumi. At the station, Atsuya is asked to be a hair model, but declines as Sani rushes to meet him. They hit up prep school together, and Atsuya is blushing at her beauty. They reconnected years ago at a funeral where Atsuya noticed she was special and asked to date her, even though they're cousins, earning a slap of pure disgust. Even though he knows Sani is into someone else, he continues to persist. Sani reveals her crush is a girl, but he insists gender doesn't matter, and he still has a chance to win her. While making out, Mugi admits to Hanabi that he's terrified of Akin's response to his confession. Hanabi suggests she pretend to be Akin, but Mugi realizes he can't anymore, and they both wait for the final outcome. Walking home, Hanabi notices she stopped using Mugi as a placeholder for Narumi, and decides to just go with the flow. At home, Narumi texts her, making her scroll through his pics and recall the memory of him becoming a teacher and asking to hold her hand. She treasures these moments and sets a weekend meetup, trying to convince herself she's loved enough. Meanwhile, Mugi is doing the exact same thing with Akin. The next day, they finish their homework, feeling encouraged to confess since they have each other for backup. Mugi suggests a post-confession meetup, and Hanabi is struggling to look at him until he hugs her, making her fluster. She's confused by these new feelings but doesn't hate them, thinking she might actually be able to move on. The next morning, Hanabi wakes up from a dream where she was holding hands with a mystery character. Mugi meets Akin, fully prepared to be rejected, noting that she's still wearing her fake pure skin. They hit a cafe where she mentions his summer tan, making him wonder about her type before he suddenly drops the "I love you." Mugi clarifies he's done being her puppet, and when Akin claims she likes him, he reveals he knows all about her schemes. They end up at a motel anyway, where he calls her a horrible woman who's addicted to being loved. Still, he's there because he wants to be the first one to actually change her. Hanabi also meets Narumi and confesses, which shocks him because he's a total NPC who never noticed she's liked him forever. When he finally hugs her, she's hit with all the feels, crying because she knows this is the peak of their relationship and it's all downhill from here. Even so, she's just glad to be a premium NPC in his life. Her unrequited love arc finally concludes, leaving her ready to level up and face the future since she's not alone anymore. But by the next morning, she's leaking tears over Narumi and wondering why Mugi sent an apology text instead of showing up for their scheduled co-op session. Sani sees her mood is totally nerfed and invites her to a summer resort to pull some aggro away from the pain. Hanabi decides to keep her brain busy, while Sani feels like she finally scored an exclusive invite. They arrive at the vacation house thinking they'll be alone, but a wild Atsuya appears at the door, making Hanabi instantly tense up. Dinner is a total cringe fest for Hanabi, so she heads to the bath while the cousins handle the cleanup mini-game. Sani is tilted that Atsuya ruined her solo time with Hanabi, and when he tries to sneak a kiss, she literally obliterates him with a sponge. Atsuya doesn't back down, claiming Hanabi will never fall for her and calling her weak for playing the game this way. Later that night, Sani initiates a romance event with Hanabi, telling her to stay quiet so the neighbor doesn't hear their make-out audio. But even in the middle of it, Sani is frustrated that she can't control the endgame. The next morning, Hanabi finds a notebook containing a candy wrapper loot from the day they first met, realizing Sani has been a stan since day one. She encounters Atsuya outside, who tells her to stop using Sani as a placeholder and actually be clear about her intentions. Hanabi ponders his words, admitting he's right as she watches Sani's happiness meter peak during the rest of the trip. After a shopping quest, Sani goes in for a kiss at the park, and Hanabi genuinely kisses her back, knowing this is the final goodbye. They return to find Atsuya faking a sick debuff just to give them privacy for the big emotional lore drop. While gaming, Hanabi accidentally mentions Narumi, making Sani realize her affinity level will never beat the teacher's. Holding back tears, Sani hugs her tightly, apologizing for forcing this fake relationship meta on her. Hanabi feels like a total griefer for taking advantage of her, but Sani has already decided to unfriend the romantic feelings and go home solo. Later in the rain, Hanabi begs to stay friends, but Sani lashes out, calling her cruel for keeping her on the hook. But wait! Hanabi promises to wait until the friendship route is possible again, ending the scene with one last kiss before they reset their memories. The next morning, Hanabi fast travels home early, while Atsuya commends Sani for her bravery in ending the toxic cycle. Summer ends and Hanabi spawns back at school feeling a massive, lonely debuff. Noriko spots her looking gloomy and starts griefing her for getting rejected, triggering a loud argument in the lunchroom. But Noriko drops a truth bomb: you can be a pro even playing solo, making Hanabi realize she's never tried standing on her own. Meanwhile, Akin visits Mugi's base to initiate another make-love session. As they engage, Mugi feels pathetic for falling for her manipulative tricks once again. See, Akin's villain origin story started in high school with an experienced boy who everyone simped for. Since then, her only objective is to make every other girl jealous by playing with people's hearts like they're NPCs. The next morning, she asks Mugi if she's boring, but he panics and denies it before they lock lips again. She thinks he's an absolute bot for believing her, and when he asks for a date, she says nah because she's already got a mission with Narumi. Mugi is losing his mind over her mixed signals, so he corners her in the student council room to block her from seeing Narumi. But her flirting is too op, and he ends up kissing her instead of finishing his lecture. In that moment, he realizes he's terrified of being perma-banned from her life. He claims to hate her, but it's a total fail. He knows she's just a lonely player who never actually chases anyone. Finally, he has to admit he's just a fool for her toxic gameplay. The next day, Akin and Narumi are on an aquarium date, and she's acting like a total saint, telling him to pick the next spot. But Akin is internally bored, wondering why they haven't ended up at a motel after multiple dates. She thinks it's super weird that Narumi acts like a normal human on their outings, even though they've already crossed that line. She's getting fed up with his wholesome energy, even feeling a rare bit of guilt toward Hanabi. Meanwhile, Hanabi returns to the classroom to loot her phone, but she ignores Narumi's desk, refusing to simp like she used to. After their date, Narumi and Akin are vibing until Takuya spots them and calls Akin a total hooker to her face. His friend scolds him for the toxic chat, and Akin is ready to throw hands, but she keeps her pure skin equipped to stay in character. Takuya warns Narumi about Akin's high body count before dipping, making Akin decide this should be their final date to end the drama. She tries to hit the quit button, but Narumi pulls her back and says he accepts her exactly as she is, stunning her. She accidentally confirms their route is still active, and later cries to Mugi because she's finally found a man she can't easily delete. Mugi admits he's jealous of her other men, while she confesses she'd be devastated if he loved someone else, showing her immature stats. Mugi finally accepts that his true love won't ever be reciprocated, and feels guilty for using Noriko as a sub. He realizes that to change the world, he has to change his own player character first, and decides to stop relying on Hanabi. That night, he asks Akin out one last time, and after he pours his heart out, she finally agrees to the meeting. Akin makes a deal with Narumi to go out only if they sleep together again, even though she's already got a date with Mugi next week. She remembers a past guy getting furious about her cheating and wonders if she's broken, unable to feel real emotions anymore. Suddenly, she wakes up beside Narumi on a train, almost at their next destination, feeling like he's actually seen through her mask. Akin jokes that their trip feels like a honeymoon, and Narumi flusters like a total noob for the 100th time. Hanabi meets with Maito and Ayumi, who notice she's ditched Mugi, which irritates her because she only wanted to drop advice, not relationship lore. Everyone thought they were the perfect power couple, but she reveals they haven't logged in together since summer, claiming it's for the better. The squad praises her maturity, while meanwhile, Narumi thinks Akin is becoming easier to read. Since she's stopped faking her persona, she wants to know their official status and suggests they rest, making him panic run for some water. She recalls how this whole route started when they both got intoxicated and blurred the lines. Later, while bathing, Narumi is in awe that he's actually on a vacation with Akin. He shatters his glasses and wanders back to the room with blurry vision, but even then, Akin's beauty is too op to miss. Narumi tells her he doesn't care if she cheats because he loves her that much, shocking her into a logic loop. He definitely shouldn't be okay with that. But his unconditional love confuses her, as he only wishes for her happiness while holding her close. Narumi is scared that if he wants more, he'll lose control and hurt her, but when they kiss, Akin finally feels her connection to the world restore. The next morning, with a massive hangover, Narumi pulls a pro move and proposes to her out of nowhere. Akin actually says yes, leaving him shook with joy as they hug. She's out here double-checking to make sure this isn't some high-level illusion. A week later, Akin meets up with Mugi for a date, but Mugi is already prepping for the game over screen, thinking this is their one and only time. Mugi realizes that beneath her mask, she only wanted to be remembered as a teacher, using attachments to kill her boredom. She opens up about wanting to try new things and finally being free, which is when the big news drops. Before Mugi can confess, she reveals she's getting married and trying to fix her character build, earning a congratulations from him. As they part ways, Mugi finally breaks down, shouting that he'll never forget the weak version of her that he loved. Akane drops a thank you as Mugi finally hits the release button on his feelings. Fast forward to autumn, and Hanabi is just trying to enjoy a warm drink when Miro spawns in to ask for help moving heavy gear for the festival. Remembering Mugi's main character motivation speech, she agrees to help, that is, until she spots Mugi in the wild. Narumi already leaked the wedding news to her, and she knows Mugi didn't get his happy ending either. She notices he's ditched the glasses, assuming Akane forced him into the contact lens meta. She forces a laugh to hide the crit damage she's taking seeing him change so much. Hanabi promises to attend the wedding to see the arc through. At the festival, Ayumi meets her boyfriend, while Hanabi wonders who she's actually meant to be with. Noriko shocks the server with her beauty at a fashion show, proving that focusing on herself gave her a massive glow-up. Hanabi gets scolded for returning to the stage late, as the squad frantically organizes the gear. She retreats to the storage room for some solo time, finally feeling content being alone and questioning why she and Mugi ever made that pact. She dozes off, only to be jump-scared when Mugi wakes up right behind her. They both stare in shock as Hanabi wonders if their meeting was scripted by fate. Spring arrives and the students are prepping the wedding celebration, with Hanabi complaining about the heavy grind. A new player named Isamu helps her with the tools and introduces himself. Isamu asks if she's still duo-queuing with Mugi, then tries to ask her out on a date. But Sani swoops in to block the attempt, claiming Hanabi belongs to her. Hanabi thanks him for the interest, making the boy blush before she's dragged away. Sani clarifies she was just pretending to help her out, making Hanabi cry at how high her kindness stats are. Hanabi notices Sani's new short hair cosmetic, recalling a time she once complimented it. The whole guild congratulates the newlyweds, and the other girls are jealous that Hanabi is on the exclusive guest list. Akane pulls a power move and hands Hanabi a flower instead of tossing the bouquet, as if to say, "You're next." She tells her to guard her next man better, which is a total jab that irritates Hanabi. After school, Hanabi realizes her time with Mugi technically meant nothing, but she wonders if a new contract is possible. At the festival, the truth drops that Akane has actually changed for the better. Hanabi finally says it out loud. She accepts Narami's choice, even if it leaves her HP at 0. They hype each other up, and for once, Hanabi realizes they're finally connecting through actual dialogue instead of just trying to fill the void. She's genuinely hyped that she met Mugi on this crazy server, so they decide to unfriend their past mistakes and continue their solo playthroughs in search of a real, non-substitute true